lives. When were you born, sir?
1914, March 27.
Okay, that would be 4. No, 3. I'm sorry, 3/27/1914. And place of birth?
And on a farm near Apple Creek.
Was it on the farm where the sawmill is at now?
The sawmill is across the road from it.
Oh, excuse me. It used to be that the big tin shed there on Carr Road?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a big shed there now. The owners own the property.
Martin Farm.
And the buildings are gone, but where the shed stands is near where the house was.
We'll turn this off just that it was your farm here just in the last couple of weeks.
Well, now that house is being rebuilt. It was taken down. It was a log house.
Oh, it was moved then? It wasn't just...
It was going to be burned, and they rescued it in time to put it up down in Coshocton County.
Is that right?
Right below Millersburg.
Yeah.
In the Coshocton County. And that'll be occupied next year sometime. They're working on it now, just off and on.
Have you been down to see progress and things?
Yeah. Yeah, I saw them put the logs up with the crane one day.
Is it on 83 or?
No, it's off of 83 on Township Road 222 to the right. It's 2 miles south of Clark.
You're up in the mountain then, right?
And you go up in the hill, and then several hills and a couple miles south. And then you turn right, and you hardly can see the road. You go past it so fast, you hardly see it. But if you watch on the right, then it's 222. And it's back there. Oh, it's the short drive, but it's very, very up and down and windy.
Oh, it is. Are they going to keep the outside log, you think, or I mean,
No,
how are they?
No, they're going to put lap siding on, I think.
Oh, that's great. Well, that's neat. Okay, you were born on the Martin Farm then, just outside Apple Creek.
Yes.
Could I ask your parents, your father's name?
Walter.
Walter? And what was his middle name?
Wellman. W-E-L. I don't know whether it was W-E-L-L-M-A-N, I believe it was.
Walter Wellman Martin?
Yes.
And then what was your mother's name and her maiden name?
Etta May, M-A-E, Musselman, M-U-S-S-E-L-M-A-N.
Okay. That's neat.
That's another name. They spelled M-U-S-S-L-E-M-A-N throughout the early period that I was interested in the name. And then later on, it was all changed to E-L, like 90% of them are.
Are you related to some of the Musselmans still in Apple Creek?
All of them.
All of them? Okay. All right. I don't know the fathers. I went to school with a Mick Musselman, and then then there's Jeff Musselman, that's an attorney in Worcester. And okay. Well, thank you. Why don't we go ahead and we'll just start some of our history questions in.
Okay. Before you start it, the reason I just wanted to show you before we get going here. I'm reading a book that's covering everything, and I just wanted to show you a little bit about it. I'm taking it along to Florida. It isn't all typed on the computer yet. It's being done, but it's been slow.
Oh, beautiful.
And this is the front cover here.
And is it a book of your life, or what is
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
And it will have, it has drawings here of, there, for example, is the Hackett Road.
Oh, yeah.
Carr Road, and then the sawmill is sitting up here. And this was the Ober farm up here, O-B-E-R, that we related to. And this was our farm, and this is all built up with nice houses in here. And the Burkholders lived here, and the Hacketts over here. And Jonas Miller, the Amishman, lived here.
Now that would represent 1840 to 1940,
Yes.
roughly.
Yes.
Okay.
And that's the vicinity of the farm.
Mm-hmm.
Riceland and
Mm-hmm. Great.
Joanne's place is right here. And here, our place is right here where I was born.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how close our homes were together.
Did you know her when you were
No.
growing up? No? Okay.
No, I went, made a big circle through Wisconsin and then Akron and so on, and come back here to retire. But this has drawings and everything, and
That's great.
apple butter.
Things that you remember then?
Yeah, toys.
Oh, toy, yes.
Made our own toys. Some are up there on the
Okay.
airplane
Oh,
up
here,
there.
yeah. Well, what is your thoughts? Are you going to publish it, or is it for the family, or
It's
what?
for the family and close friends.
Okay.
And then, of course, I have a bunch of poetry, about 300 poems in that book right there that I've written over the years, and some of them are in here too.
Mm-hmm. You're an author then.
Well, I guess you'd call it that. Of course, my business was writing in the beginning.
Was it? Mm-hmm.
So I just kind of kept at it.
Well, thank you I'm sure the Historical Society, if you would allow us purchase a copy or have a copy, we'd be glad to have a copy of that. That would be great.
Yeah, I'll see to get one.
Okay, good. Thank you. We're just going to start down through some of the questions. Like, what are your earliest memories of life in East Union Township?
My earliest memories of life was, well, the first one I think was when I was about 4 years old. 3 and 4, I don't know, in there somewhere, and they replaced the old wind pump on the farm from a wooden tower to a steel.
Mm-hmm.
And they dug these holes in the lawn there for the windmill. We call it the wind pump.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the workers just picked me up and he put me down in that hole.
Okay.
I guess it made such an impression on me at the time. I was so small that I remembered that.
Did it scare you?
Oh yeah. Yeah. That was the first memory I had, and the other one was we bought a 1918 Chevy.
Uh-huh.
And I was 4 years old then.
Mm-hmm.
I remember my dad taking the lantern out one night, and then I went out with him, and we looked at the car inside, and we saw all the buttons and everything.
Was he the proud owner?
Oh, yeah.
Taking his son out to show him his new car?
I guess he was, yeah.
I love old cars. Anything you can tell me about it, that would be great. Was it a electric start or was it crank start?
It was electric start, but
Okay.
very early one. We kept that until about 1926, I guess, and then we traded it on another Chevy.
Mm-hmm. What color was it?
Everything was black then.
Black. Mm-hmm. Did it have it had electric lights then on it? Okay. So that was pretty modern. 1918 is pretty early too.
Yes,
I'm going to say, I just thinking a lot of the people in East Union Township might have still had horse and buggies in that.
oh, but we had horse and buggy too.
Yeah.
We'd jack it up in the winter time
Oh.
and take it off the tires, and we just store it, and because out there in the country we didn't have any thing but mud roads, and they were mud.
Mm-hmm.
You couldn't travel them in the winter time.
So it was too difficult for a car then.
So we always used the buggy.
Okay. I did not know that.
Yeah.
What would that be? What, in November or October, or when did?
Oh, I would say around I don't remember the months, but I know that January, February, and March, especially, where it was in the garage. I mean, at home in the garage.
Mm-hmm.
And then about March, my birthday, I remember walking to grade school. They would about March 27th on my birthday, I would remember them coming down the road with a big team of horses and a road scraper, and we would level that thing off so that it looked nice, but the first rain and would develop the ruts again, and but then they would be back every so often and level it off again.
Would that be Car Road then?
Yeah.
I mean, okay. Mm-hmm.
But we never called it Car Road. We I don't know whether it had a name or not. We just we called it the road.
The road. Okay. All right. Well, that's neat. So, did roads have numbers back then? I mean, or
I guess they did on the map, but I never paid any attention to that
Okay.
then,
that's fine.
and I never did later.
Okay.
It wasn't until I was growing up that I ever knew it was called Car Road.
Mm-hmm. What did your father do for a living?
Oh, all the Martins were farmers.
Farmers. Mm-hmm. Did you?
They were Mennonites. That
Okay.
I mean, several generations back, they were all Mennonites, and they come over in 1727
Mm-hmm.
to Pennsylvania, and then my great grandfather come from Pennsylvania to Oroville out here on Church Road, if you know where that is.
Yes, I do.
Martin's Mennonite Church.
Yes.
Was where he bought the farm, and then he did some land for the church to the church, you know, and he was the preacher there along with one of his friends who came from Pennsylvania too.
Mm-hmm.
But they started out having church in homes,
Mm-hmm.
and then they finally built this church, and I guess this is about the third or fourth ones since that. And it's been enlarged, of course, and still going on, pretty active.
Mm-hmm. Did your father? I mean, that was one of your ancestors that was a preacher. Did your father? Did he do any preaching too, or was he just?
No, my father was. See, this was my great grandfather.
Oh yeah, I realize it was.
Then
an
my
ancestor.
great grandfather was his son, of course, who bought the farm where we grew up.
Mm-hmm. What was his first name?
His name was
The reason I asked is I have this 1873 map, and I don't know which one it would have been, but it is Emmanuel.
yes, Emmanuel.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's listed as Emmanuel Martin.
Yeah.
So he was the one that bought the farm then?
Either he or his dad, I'm not sure. Oh yes. It's Martin.
That's what kind of
Yeah.
threw me a little bit.
Huh. Yeah, Emmanuel was the first. I heard that his father, Preacher Henry, might have bought that. But anyway, he was living there, and then my grandfather, Reuben, and then Walter, and then this generation. So that's 4 generations that I know were raised there.
That's amazing. Staying in your childhood, what do you remember, like chores and things like that, that you have to do, or what were your responsibilities around the home?
Well, I was the oldest of 5 children, so I was introduced to work as the first one, of course, and I remember when I was 6 years old, my dad took me out one day and he was harrowing the ground there in one of the fields near the house. And he gave me the lines to drive the team and back and forth, and I remember him saying that, well, at least you drove the horses when you were 6 years old, so I guess I made a trip or two across the field with him.
That made an impression then.
Yeah.
Do you remember the horses' names?
No, not at that time, although well, when I was a kid, it was Prince and Molly and Fred, and there's some more that I don't remember anymore. But no, the Martins were always farmers. I'm the first one that seen the, well, no, my uncles, when they left home there, they went into the city, and bankers and teachers and whatnot. But I am the first one in our family to leave the farm, and then of course all the rest of the children did too. So they sold that then in 1940.
Okay, 1940 it left. I had a teacher named Arthur Martin. Is he any relation?
He's a distant relative over at Marshallville.
That's where he's at now.
Yeah.
He was at Apple Creek at one time.
And I have Martins right across the street here, Alice and Grace, who are also distantly related. But I have been in genealogy many years, and I have that cabinet there stuffed with them. And I've checked all the Martins around here, and everyone that I've checked come from the same stock.
Is that right?
And can I move around?
Sure, you go right ahead.
I have charts here like this. You see that list
Oh, that's super.
names, and this is, of course, Christian came over from David came over first from Switzerland, and then his dad Christian came over later on.
That was in
1691.
1691.
And then I come from Bishop Henry.
Okay. Those
No.
are all children right there?
Yeah, oh yes.
My, that was a big
12
family.
to 15 children.
15 children.
12, I think there are 12 here. And then Henry Martin, that's Bishop Henry, and then Henry, his son. And then Emmanuel, and then Reuben, and down here's Walter, then here's me. But all these other Orville people are like, they all come from this family here,
Well,
see?
sure.
Branch out here, and here. I don't have them all, I just have a few of them that are local. And then they go on down here, and they become lost as far as relationship goes. But I picked up most of them.
But they're all traceable back to those
Yeah.
15 and or that first couple.
Yeah.
That's what's neat.
And then some of those too have gone to Canada. There's many Martins in Canada. I've been up there a number of times, mostly around St. Jacobs and Waterloo. And they're all from the same family too. But there are a lot of Martins that are not from that family, of course. Every once in a while I run into some, if I ask their history, why they'll say that they came from Ireland or somewhere like that.
You mentioned in your book that, and you showed diagrams of your toys. So you would make your own toys then as a child then?
Oh, yeah.
What type of? I see the airplane up here. I'll shoot a picture of it here before I go.
Oh, we
What-
made little trucks. We played in the dirt down in the lane
Mm-hmm.
when we were kids. And then, of course, we made trucks, dump trucks and cranes and all kinds of mechanical shovels and airplanes and things like that.
Had you seen airplanes around, or how did you get interested in making the airplanes?
Well, I was interested in airplanes from the day I heard one buzz overhead. We were just talking about this here the other day when we, as a family, in the early days when we were eating supper, for example, in the kitchen, and we'd hear an airplane motor. Every one of us would jump and we'd run out and see if we could find it.
Uh-huh.
That's how we were introduced to them.
Did it happen often?
Not very often.
Okay.
Then later on, as I grew older, like in 1925, out of Carr's reunion, Carr School had a reunion about that time. And I remember an airplane being flown by somebody here in Orville. It was after World War One, and he took a deep dive right down toward the bell tower on the schoolhouse,
Okay.
and he zoomed up again, and that was my first excitement that I saw with an airplane. But then, of course, I've seen a lot since that. Of course, I even saw one that crashed right in front of me over in Pennsylvania
Oh no.
at a show.
Okay, at an air show?
Yeah, later
Oh,
on, of course, that was. But I remember as a child, I saw the Zeppelin, or the dirigible called the Shenandoah.
Mm-hmm.
That was only in the air 3 or 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
Made in 1925, I think it was. That's the one that cranked up down in southern Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that went over to the cornfield where I was working corn one day,
Mm-hmm.
and that thing I'll never forget. It just was, it was glistening in the sun,
Mm-hmm.
and it went so slow, and I just watched that and watched it.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I have a poem here about the Shenandoah, how I stood and watched that thing until it got out of sight, and then a few days later, well, then it was all in pieces all over the countryside.
My grandfather, and it wrecked down where my relatives are from, and the older ones, went to see the wreck down there, so I'm very familiar with the Shenandoah.
Yeah.
So you got to see it fly over, though,
Oh yeah.
before it was wrecked.
Mhm.
Wow.
But I've also followed it up down there and went to the places where they had the monuments and talked to the people around there and all that thing, all that sort of thing.
Wow, that's tremendous.
And then as I got older, I got into airplane work. I never cared to fly, but I was always interested in airplanes.
Mm-hmm.
But when I worked for B.F. Goodrich in Akron, that was one of my duties there, was to work with airplane parts, de-icers and fuel cells and things.
Mm-hmm.
But I wouldn't doubt when I'm the only person in Wayne County, maybe, I'm not sure, that ever went to Orville Wright's funeral.
You went to Orville Wright's funeral?
Mhm.
Wow, how did that happen?
Well, of course, that was 1948. That wasn't, to me, that wasn't too long ago. But I knew he was still living, and then, of course, when he died, I knew his funeral was going to be in Dayton.
Mm-hmm.
So I arranged my work that day, which was near there anyway, and I went over to the church and went to the funeral, and I still have in that file cabinet there the sermon that was preached.
Is that right at
It's
Orville's?
a very, very good one.
Oh my.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. That's you're right. You're probably the only one in Wayne County.
But when I tell little kids, you know, I went to the funeral of the fellow that invented the airplane, you know. They just look at me and look at each other, and they don't believe it. But it wasn't that long ago, really.
No, but it was.
1903 is when they did it, and of course, his brother was killed early in their experiments and so on.
Just another follow-up on airplanes. When were you working for Goodrich? Was before the war or after the war?
I went in there during the war, about the time the war started, and they were making bullet sealing fuel cells for the Army. I mean, for the aircraft, the Air Corps, and de-icers and wheels and brakes, and tires, and then of course Firestone was building some wings for the I forget the name of it now, but they were building some wings over there. Then I was up to A.O. Smith in Milwaukee before I ever came to Goodrich in Akron, in the auditing department for the Air Corps, and the A.O. Smith is making propellers up there. And then I was transferred from that office to Firestone, where they built the wings, and then I quit that job and came to Goodrich. Then I was in advertising there and sales, promotion.
That's exciting.
But before that, of course, I went into J.I. Case Company. That was my really first job in the home office in Racine, Wisconsin.
Okay. And that would be Case tractors and things like that then?
I have all the ads, all the books. See, I used to make the sales literature that all the dealers pass out, and I have samples of all of my work in the file yet that I did.
So you drew the diagrams of the tractors and things like that? And
no, I took the pictures and put them into a sales literature, and then wrote the descriptions of everything and what they call a copy for ads. And I worked on corn pickers and balers and tractors and corn pickers, manure spreaders, various implements like that.
How'd you get from Wayne County out to Racine, Wisconsin?
Well, we're going backwards here now.
I know. Sorry about that.
It's all right.
Or would it be better to go backwards and come forward? You're just hitting topics and I'm
Makes
just
no difference to me.
following up on stuff.
But well, if we want to go forward, of course, when I was in high school in Apple Creek, the Kruger Company had a contest for scholarships. I think they gave out, I don't know whether it was 10 or 20, either one, I forget, to the highest ranking tests from different ag classes in Ohio schools, in high schools. So Mr. Full, my teacher, was passing him out one day, and he wanted each of us to take one, so I did, and I forgot all about it. And about a month or two later, why he announced in class one day that I had won a scholarship to Ohio State for 4 years
Really?
in ag college.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I didn't know what I wanted to be or do or anything about it. I was just kind of coasting along, happy and content. So I was right in the Depression. That was in 1932
Mm-hmm.
or 31, I don't know which. And so I had enough money, like $100 saved up. No, I didn't have $100. I had about $25. And then I was in a bad accident, ran into an Amish buggy with a bunch of boys one night, and I was almost killed. They didn't know whether I was gonna live or not, but I broke a leg, and I was laid up for a long time, and I got, I think, $100 out of the insurance company for that. At that time, that was peanuts at the time. I mean, today it would
It was
be.
big money back then.
And of course, we didn't argue with them, which we should have, and we'd have got much more.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, I had $100 plus what I had saved to go to college, and another fellow and I decided to go. So we cooked our own meals and did our own thing and got along the best we could for the first year.
Did you have an apartment off campus, or how did that work?
No apartment. We couldn't afford that.
I mean, there were dorms.
We had, two of us had a room in an old rundown house near the campus,
Okay.
and we got it cheap, and it wouldn't pass inspection today.
Mm-hmm.
So we went to the first year. Tuition, by the way, was $60 a year,
$60 a year.
$20 a quarter.
Wow.
Look at it today,
Yeah.
see the difference.
Buy one book.
Yeah. And then the second year, I didn't have any money, and things were really tough. And my dad said, well, he said, I can't help you out. You'll have to do the best you can. So my uncle got a job on Carr Road, getting it widened between Emerson and Hackett.
Mm-hmm.
That stretch in there. And he got me a job along with him, and we blasted all the stumps out when they widened that and made it a nice road. So with that money that I saved that summer, I started back to school again, and then I got a job.
I just set this.
Anyway, I went back the second year then and got a job, a government job. They opened up some work down there for students that needed it. So I got a job in the agricultural engineering department. I kept all the equipment clean. I'd go out and drive a tractor. I might work in the farm out in the Ohio State farm down there. I've cleaned chicken houses and done all kinds of dirty work. And then I've also done work on the inside, like drawing graphs and charts with statistics, and working with engineers to develop new equipment, to invent new equipment, and stuff like that. So it varied. The work that I did was very different from time to time. Mm-hmm. And then I went like that on through to the 1937. I graduated, and in the meantime, there was an opening at the Case branch in Columbus. So I went over and got a job there in parts.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, I had worked in parts for a summer job too for Avery.
What did
Which-
Avery do?
They made tractors and farm equipment.
Okay.
And the Farm Bureau down in Columbus used to handle that down there. They don't anymore. Of course, it isn't made anymore. So I worked in the parts department for a few months, and then they decided that they needed a sales correspondent in the office, and they knew that I could handle it all right, so they put me in there. Well, my whole history from then on depended on something I did at Christmas time.
Okay.
I like to draw and make pictures and just fiddle around this stuff, you know. And I made Christmas cards instead of buying them. I made them. And I worked in case machines on the cards with a Christmas message. I remember one, I had a manure spreader throwing out a bunch of stuff, you know, in the back and spreading cheer and goodwill to so on.
That's good.
And then combining greetings and so on and so on and so on.
Uh-huh.
And then I made them fit the machine.
Uh-huh.
And I made a pretty decent card. It was understandable and everything. And so I sent them to everybody in the office, and I didn't think anything about it. They said they liked them, told me about it. And so a couple of weeks later, the branch manager, his name was Oscar Axine, called me in, and he opened his drawer here, and he said, I sent this up to the advertising manager in Racine. He said he thought they could use me up there. Yeah, so he said, would you like to go up for an interview? And I said, well, I suppose I could. I said, it's sort of a shock and surprise. And so I went up there, and I was hired right away, and they put me to work. And the first piece of literature I made there was for the corn picker. And I was there till I was there for 4.5 years or so. Worked on that stuff, and then the war came along, and I was a 4F because of my accident that I had in high school. I had a bad knee, and so I was a 4F, and I wanted to get into something I could work with. I tried to get in the right field, and every time I go in, or every time I applied, they would send me to an auditing department someplace, and I didn't want any figures. I didn't like figures. I don't like figures. I like to create, work with things, you know, rather than figures. So that's when I went to A.O. Smith Company.
What does A.O. Smith do? I guess.
Well, they make, at that time, they made water tanks and all kind of metal products.
Okay.
So they were making propellers at that time.
Okay.
They had a contract, government contract, and they wanted auditors to audit the contract work. So I was in that office up there, and like most government offices, at least at that time, it didn't amount to much. It's gonna sit around and be assigned to something that didn't amount to anything. They sent me and another fellow down to a vault in the basement of that place. Nobody down there, we were there alone. This one fellow just wanted to sit down there and snooze all the time, and he expected me to do the same if he watched the door, see. I got sick of that, so I just transferred it out of that, trying to get into right field again. Sent me to Akron to another auditing job. They didn't even have the they didn't even have it going yet up there, and we just sat around, didn't do anything. Finally got sick of the whole thing, and I run across an old friend of mine up from Ohio State, up at Chippewa Lake one night. And he said, he worked at Goodrich then. He said, if you just walk into Goodrich, he said, you can get a job there. So I did, and I got the job. And of course they checked me on a Case, because Case was one of their customers on Burton Tires. So I got a job in advertising and sales there, and then I worked there for 31 years.
I'll be Joe.
Within 2 years of retirement, they downsized and squeezed about 300 of us out. And so I had an assistant, which they made advertising manager at the time, and I was let go. So that cut me a little short on my Social Security and pension. But that's how I made the big round, and as I say,
That makes a lot of sense.
some Christmas cards was the whole turning point of my life. And when I got up to Akron, all that through that long chain of events, my boss up there wanted me to make a Christmas card for him every year.
Okay.
He never knew about this. At least I never told him. And so I always ended up making his Christmas, designing it, that is. And then we'd send it to the art department and get it fixed up. But, and then I still do it. In fact, she doesn't know it out here, but I just made one this afternoon for. This is one I made.
Oh, okay.
She went away to a meeting the other day, a Red Hat meeting. You ever hear those women?
No, I'm afraid I haven't.
And she had one of these up here. They had a Halloween dinner or something.
Okay.
And she had this celluloid pumpkin put on our red hat, and she was all dressed up different than she is here. But anyway, this is her birthday coming up.
Oh.
And I put her age there. And then I fixed that up. It isn't all finished yet.
But that's neat.
Anyway, I do that every once in a while just as a hobby, and
Sure.
it's sort of fun.
It just comes natural then, it looks like.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That's great. Well, let's turn the clock back again. I apologize, I've been all over the map with you. You said you went to school up there on Lautenschlager then, right?
Yeah, Anderson School.
Okay. Can you maybe tell me some about your grade school or your early school memories?
Well, the early memory was there were about 40 students there. About half of them were Amish.
Okay.
Or recent Swiss from Kidron. You know, the Swiss came over at different times. We came in the early bunch. Another bunch came a little later, and then another bunch from Kidron, the Kidron group. So we had a lot of skating there because there were a lot of ponds around, and they aren't there anymore, dried up. We did a lot of skating in the wintertime, and of course the usual games at noon, like Andy over the ball, you know, throwing it over the
roof,
you know, and catching it. And
how does that work? How do you play that game?
I don't really know how to do it anymore, but we'd throw it over, and then if it was caught, you'd run around and surprise them somehow. I don't know just how it was. I've lost out on that.
Well, that's okay.
But
whatever you can remember.
Andy over.
Andy
over.
over.
I don't know how it was anymore. And then of course we'd have races, and we'd have baseball and Black Man, whatever that was. I remember Black Man. I don't know. wouldn't dare use that today.
No, but it was some sort of a game?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that sort of thing. But it was in the woods so much that the windows were all on the east side, and no windows on the west side, and the trees were on the east side, so we had no light,
Oh no.
no electricity.
Uh-huh.
We had an old coal furnace in the corner, and which I guess is still there. I was there this summer, and it looked like the same one.
Was it like a stove, or was it actually kind of a bigger?
It was a big round shell around
Okay.
a stove, you might say. It was a floor furnace. And I remember catching a big skunk one day when I was in the trapping days, and the skunk was so big, and I couldn't get it killed, and it just soaked me with smell. Oh my! And I tried to get it off before I went to school, but I didn't succeed, and they sent me home.
So you showed up at school. Okay.
And they didn't forget that for a long time, and I didn't either.
How did your mom help you through that?
I don't remember. I guess she said, "We'll have to wash the clothes and you have to take a bath," and so on. I guess that's what she said. I don't remember.
Now these would be foot traps, the old type of.
Yeah.
Tell me about what kind of animals you would be able to catch. I mean.
I caught skunks and muskrats,
Okay.
and number one skunk was, of course, the one with a small amount of white on it, and the number two was a little more white. Number three was a little farther back, and number four was pretty white. So the value of the skins was according to the number 1, 2, 3, or 4, and the 4 was the lowest.
The one with all the white was the lowest.
Yeah.
So just
Number
a
4.
little white was better then.
Yeah.
Really?
Number one.
Why would that be?
No, that's just the way they wanted black skunks, I guess, and it was just a little. They just had a little fork on their head, just a little white and a little fork.
Okay.
And the rest of them went a little farther back, and number 4 was way back.
Okay. What did they make out of skunk fur?
Oh, I don't know. I sold it to Harvey Netherow, who was a neighbor of ours, and he dealt in hides, and he knew the market and what they were worth, and I just take them to him, and he'd skin them, and I had it real easy. I didn't even have to skin them. And of course, that was in the old railroad bank that went the spur off the CANC that went through Apple Creek.
Okay.
Came right past our barn.
Okay. So the railroad went up through past Clayton Oars and up that direction, but there was a spur that came off that went past your barn. Now, why did it do that, and where did it go?
It went down to Sunburg.
Yeah.
And
East of Kidron, right?
Kidron.
Okay.
And they used to haul. I don't know what all they hauled. I never could quite figure it out. They haul coal, and they'd haul animals sometimes, and freight just once a week, and I don't know what it was.
But you remember the train running, making that run?
Sure.
Okay.
Oh, yes. Yeah, we'd go down there and put these caps on the track. It would crack, and
Okay.
I remember one time we did that, and we hid and watched, and the engineer stopped the train, and he got out, he looked around under the train and everything, and get back in and left again.
Was he looking for you guys, you mean?
No, he was looking for what the noise was.
Oh, what that noise was.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, caps. You mean like bang bang caps?
Yeah.
Okay. So he stopped the train, got out. Okay.
That's what kind of a railroad it was. It's one of those that And we get off the track so many times, and we get so happy when we get off the track because there's a lot of activity around. We could watch.
Okay. You mean when it derailed? You mean? Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
So did it happen a lot near your house?
Yeah, it went slow, of course.
Yeah.
It wasn't a fast train.
Uh-huh.
And when I got down there below our place, down toward the Burkholder farm and farther down, some of the track wasn't very good, and they didn't keep it up too well.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, every once in a while it would get off the track, and they'd have to bring equipment up and lift it back on and fix it all up.
Mm-hmm.
Then we would. We had a peach orchard for a while, and we'd several of us, my brothers and I, would get some peaches, and we'd sit there in the bank, and then we'd throw them to the engineer, and he'd catch them. And,
Is that right?
yeah.
So he was kind of a friend then.
Yeah.
Or,
Yeah.
was that a steam train?
Yeah.
Steam locomotive. Okay.
Yeah.
Was it big, or did they have a smaller one that would do that
Well,
side run?
It was medium size. Yeah. We do every once a week.
Once a week. Was there a specific day? I mean, I'm really taxing your
Saturday,
memory.
I think, was.
Saturday was the
I
day?
believe it was.
Would it go Saturday, would it like go down in the morning and then come back
Yeah.
at night then or something like that in the afternoon
Yeah.
or something?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
How did the train have a light, did they travel at night or was it mostly daytime?
It's daytime, as far as I know.
Okay. I just wonder if they had lights on them or how they did that.
Yeah. But after that then they stopped it, and people gathered up spikes and ties and used them themselves and took them to the junkyard.
Mm-hmm.
I guess the land all went back to the owners, I guess. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
You can see traces of it when you go down past our old place. You can just see where the railroad.
Can you tell, really? Okay.
I can.
Or you can.
Maybe nobody else could,
Yeah.
but I can.
Okay. Sometime maybe in the spring we could take a field trip and you can just point out some of that.
Yeah. You know Bob Bixler?
Mm-hmm.
Well, he and I took a walk one day down through the railroad where it was, through the Harold Hackett farm. That was right.
I know where Harold's was. Would
right across the road from ours.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
All right. He went right along his house down there.
The spur coming your way.
Yeah.
Okay.
And went on down through the woods,
Okay.
deep woods, made a little curve and hooked on to the CANC.
Down there. Okay.
So we walked down there a couple of years ago. We took a walk down through there just for the fun of it.
Sure.
And he's a great railroad man himself. And he
Mm-hmm.
has a couple of cars.
Mm-hmm. I hear he goes around with the cars and stuff.
Yeah.
Did you get good at getting skunks then? I mean, obviously the skunk won that one battle. Could you get other skunks out
yes.
without getting sprayed?
Yeah.
How did you go about doing that?
Well, I'm not a gunman.
Uh-huh.
I've lost a lot of friends when I said that.
Okay. Doesn't bother me.
But I usually just carry a big club
Okay.
and I'd kill them. But I never had any trouble except for this one. This was a monster.
Did you ever accidentally catch any mink or coon or anything like that?
No.
Just muskrat and skunk.
Muskrat and skunk.
Okay.
I think maybe a possum, maybe once or twice a possum, I don't know.
Okay.
I think so.
You mentioned, we talked about heating the school. How did you heat your house there when you were growing up?
We had an old wood stove, fireside garland it was called.
Okay.
The big foot warmer right in front of it, rail.
Okay. I
Put your feet up against it and warm them.
Okay.
And they had fireside garland across there in heavy letters that stuck out a little bit. just as the name on the stove was just sort of a decoration. And that's where I learned most of my ABCs before I went to school.
Okay. Was all the letters you mean in the?
Yeah, FIRESIDE, JARLAND.
Okay.
And then in between, of course, my mother taught me those, and I could read and write a little before I went to school even.
Uh-huh. Did you just have one teacher, or how many teachers did you have up at your school?
I had Laura Graber. She taught from 1 through 3rd to 4th, I think, and then we had Olga Cook, who was the local girl. We had Effie McDonough, who stayed a half a year and couldn't stand it, I guess, and she disappeared. And Alvin Weldy, one of the Weldy boys,
Okay.
came and took over. And then after he left, Ralph Craig from south of Worcester was my teacher, and then that was my 8th grade. So I remember all the teachers, and still have my grade cards, I guess.
Do you have any favorite teachers, or was any more memorable than others?
Well, in grade school, they were all about the same. I liked Alvin Weldy real well, but he was killed in a hunting accident while he was teaching,
Oh no.
and that was quite a shock in itself. I have to go back on this Martin church, though. It just made me think. The first death that I knew of as a child was my great aunt, Emmeline Martin. She died when I was 4 years old. And she was buried, and is buried out here at Martin's Church along with many other relatives. But when the sermon was over, they took her out and put her in the grave, and then they started throwing dirt in before we ever got away, and it was raining and it was cold, and I was that age, where everything was new and very somber at that time, and I couldn't get over it.
Hold that thought 1 second. I apologize.